Thank you for joining us on 7 After 6. I'm Garrett Domblewski. I'm joined by the likely winners of the Watertown City Council race tonight. Doug Osborne on your left here and Shane Garrabrant closest to me. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. Assuming the numbers stand, what do you guys plan to do when you get into office in January?
I guess I'll start. Yeah, I think first thing, what I'd like to do even before getting in is, spend some time talking with each of the council members and the mayor if they'd like to talk to me, I guess, and see, what their goals are for the next couple of years, so that we can, see where we have common ground and see where we can, build consensus, so that we can have a, proactive, cohesive group that is working together. I think we do have some common ground there that would be beneficial, and I think, for me personally, I think the first major thing we need to tackle is getting on the budget and starting that process early of how we're going to, handle these budget deficits and potential tax rate increases and how we can prevent those.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of Shane a little bit. I agree with everything he said. I'd really like to get some perspective from the current council members, the city manager, maybe even do a tour with the department heads as well and get their perspectives on things. Just the more information, the better, I think. So when we do, if and when we do get on council, maybe we can hit the ground running and really get acquainted with everything.
You both have been pretty active in going to meetings and stuff throughout the campaign. So how does your approach, I guess, change now? As you said, maybe it's meeting with people a little bit more, but do you see the access you might have to what's going on with the city changing over the next 3 months while you're not on council yet, but as you get ready to be?
I guess I see the possibility of that more from what I've heard from other people that have been through this process, but there hasn't really been anything for me in terms of official communication so far of here's what you can expect. So yeah, I mean, I intend on still going to the meetings, obviously, and staying informed and as much access as I can get and over the next few months before I start, I'll definitely take, because yeah, as Doug said, I want to be able to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, after we get the official results, from there maybe we will get a little bit more access to information that we're currently not privy to, just so, it'll be an easy transition to, the next council for sure.
Shane, one of the things that we talked about leading up to the election was you were hoping to have maybe a work session with the zoo when it comes to talking about their numbers, getting a little bit more access to their business model and how they've been running. Is that something you see yourself trying to get the ball rolling on right away?
Absolutely, and from the last meeting, I don't think I'll have to try too hard. Councilman Kimball actually brought that up in the last meeting of something that he'd like to do in the new year. So that's, talking about common ground, that's something I definitely would like to work with him on and in terms of making that happen. So yeah, I definitely, that's one of the things I think I'd like to see happen pretty early on in my tenure, I guess.
And Doug, for you as well, but what do you see as being an option for council to do once it sees those numbers? I mean, do you think the council should be more hands-on in the decision-making with the zoo, or is it more of a oversight kind of thing, as like, let us know what you're doing, and so that way we can make better informed decisions?
I mean, I'd like to have a little bit more oversight. I think I had mentioned that over the course of the campaign. And I'd like to have more of a collaborative approach with them as well. As I had previously stated over the course of this thing too, I don't think we can afford to keep doling out six figures year after year. And if they do, attempt to request any money down the road, I think, we should have a larger conversation and again, be more collaborative if they're looking for that type of money.
Anything to add to that?
No, I agree. I think, the work session, I think, would be for city council, city government, as well as just the public to have a better idea of, where the money that we've, contributed, where that's gone, and just have a better feel for, where they stand, how much help they still need. I agree. I don't think we're in a position right now with our budget, unfortunately, to give, hundreds of thousands of dollars year over year. But if there's other ways that we can be of assistance, I think that's something, that the city would have to obviously consider. Because I do think, the zoo is a city institution. We need to, we have relatively few city institutions. So I think we need to pursue every avenue to keep those alive and well.
You both talked about often when it comes to homelessness, better communication or better cooperation with the county. The city manager and the city mayor both meet with the county, I believe, quarterly right now. Is that something that you think that the city council members should also be involved in, or have more discussions with county leadership when it comes to, whatever the gamut is for issues, but particularly homelessness and others?
Yeah, I think they had stated that there was going to be some sort of work session down the road regarding the homelessness thing, and I'm kind of eager to get more information on that and definitely talk to some of the folks that are involved in mitigating the problem. I think it's great that the mayor has been working with the county quarterly doing that. I think some of that information also should be kind of shared with council down the road as well, and the public for sure.
I don't necessarily firm opinion on if it's something I need to be personally involved in. I would like more information on what's happening in those meetings, and go from there. I do think there's still room to have a more collaborative approach between all the different entities involved, not just necessarily the county, which is something I'd like to at least investigate the possibility of some sort of task force or something like that to really dive deeper into the issue, because it's another one of those issues that's top of mind to a lot of residents. There's a lot of residents with a lot of concerns on it, and those concerns vary across the spectrum. So it's something that doesn't have an easy solution, maybe even a real solution at all. But there's remedies that I think can be pursued. So I'd like to see more communication for sure, and maybe more collaboration between even more entities if possible.
When it comes to the actual council meetings, I mean, for some people it's been appointment television. If you look at the comments sections on the meeting live streams online, a lot of people kind of view it as entertainment at times, or have over the past several years. I know, Doug, you've talked about this, of wanting to have a more civil council setting or civil meetings. How do you see yourselves handling city council, whether it be privilege of the floors when it's dealing with people that come in to comment on city issues, or with your own moments of speaking in new business or old business and things like that? How do you think that you'll want to see the meetings conducted?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I think this election was kind of a referendum on kind of the petulant politics and the dysfunction that's been going on. I think between both of us and even the other two candidates, I think, we all got along very, very well. And, I think that moving forward in this new council, it's going to be much, much more civil. And even when people are taking part of privilege of the floor, I mean, it's their right to speak and, either praise city council or, accost them. I mean, it's their choice to do that. But, I would hope that, every member, I would, keep their perspectives in consideration. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I echoing a lot of what Doug said, I think what I'm hoping for in terms of a city council is one that's a lot more focused, on policy instead of personality. I'm really hoping, that we can be a pretty collaborative group. I think we now, with the council as it would stand, we would have a lot of different diverse backgrounds that could really contribute well to having a lot of different viewpoints on city issues. So I'm hoping that we're, more of a collaborative group that's working, towards one vision for what the city is. Or I am positive that we won't always agree on how to achieve that vision, but I think if we can start there of a unified goal and then try to work from there, I think the city will benefit. And then in terms of the privilege of the floor. That's people's opportunity to speak and have their voice be heard. So, I will listen. I'll take the feedback and apply it to however I can. But yeah, I don't see myself, being in any confrontations or anything like that. I'll stand firm on things that I truly believe in, but it won't get personal for me. It's gonna all be about the policy and trying to improve our city.
Meetings are going to become much more boring again.
Would you say that's a good thing for city government?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I do think, the city, it was somewhat of a black eye to the city. I think, it was, if some of our long-term goals, if we want to attract business, if we want to, even I think in getting grant funding, so if there is, competitive, as they say, I think all those things, factor in and matter. If you have council meetings that are appointment television, then you might limit yourself from achieving some of those serious goals.
Right. And I think, just to kind of again piggyback off of Shane, a lot of those things, the dysfunction, the excess spending, the frivolous spending, the entertainment of city council in the past, these are all deterrents for people to invest here, remain here, or move here. So, I think if we kind of change the path of how council is going to be more policy driven, I think it'll be much more productive and much more appealing for people to remain here, move here, or invest here.
Speaking of budget stuff, as you started to bring up earlier, Shane, hydro, that's been maybe your top issue as we've gone through this. Watertown Daily Times just had a story this week about the city looking at a RFP consultant, or a request for proposal consultant, when it comes to hydro. Do you see, either of you see that as being a worthy way of spending city money, or is that something that's sort of redundant after the hydro committee that you were just on?
No, I think I see that as the right move, because it's such a complex market and a complicated process with a lot of different entities that all have their own procedures, that you're going to want a guide through that process. And I've been very open about, I'm an electrical engineer. I have, some background in that area, but it's not my expertise that is that market. So, I think I'll be able to help facilitate some conversations, but I do think we need someone that, fully understands these processes, especially because, we had the consultant from the hydro committee report. We had the consultant that Mr. Olney brought in, and they weren't saying totally different things, but they had some contradictions of each other. So, you're going to want someone else that you can ask some more questions to, rather than just proceed, not blindly, but somewhat blindly into a process. You're going to want to know that, all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed before we move too far down the road on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good move. I think the more expertise we have to help us go into a positive direction, moving forward past the contract, the better off we'll be. So, we only have 5 years left, and I think we really, really need to, get going on this thing, so we're not losing as much money as we potentially could.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that either of you would, like to say now that, obviously it's not finalized yet, but likely you'll both be the winners for the city council race. Anything you'd like to say to the voters, to the city, to the city council members you'll be joining? Any thoughts you might have that you'd like to get out there?
Just that I'm eternally grateful for all the support I received over the course of the campaign up to this point. I'm just overwhelmed by all the support and good wishes. I really, I don't want to come across as being presumptuous because we don't have the official results in yet. But I'm very hopeful, that things will kind of remain the same and we can move on past this and try to do what's best for the city.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I have a lot of gratitude for all the voters who, voted for me. And and as someone that was new to this process, I received a lot of help and a lot of advice from a lot of different people, and so I'm very thankful for them. I'll always be grateful to them for that help. And if for those that didn't vote for me, I hope to prove myself to you, and for the rest of the city residents, for the city council, I'm just want them to know, like, if assuming these results stand, I'm ready to get moving. I'm ready to get to work. And yeah, I'm gonna give it my best shot.
All right, gentlemen, appreciate you both taking the time to join us tonight.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us.
and thank you all at home for watching. I've been Garrett Domblewski. Thanks for joining us for 7 After 6. Have a good night.